Welcome back to The Source. We continue our look at policing here in Niagara by checking in with Saleh Waziruddin about an organization that he's a part of, the Niagara Region Anti-Racism Association. Saleh, it's great to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike, for the Niagara Region Anti-Racism Association.
Saleh, we just spoke to Chief Brian McCullough about the police and their take on some of what's been going on for the last few months. Since May 25th, racism and police forces have been in the news, obviously, quite a lot. Let's talk about what are some of the changes that you would like to see here in Niagara?
Well, just to get the premise right, I do disagree with the chief about that there isn't a racism problem here in Niagara, because we're not separate from everywhere else in Canada and the US. The policing is a little different, but they both do have similar problems, as we're seeing from other cities in Ontario even. But the kind of changes I think that are needed are similar to the changes that are needed in other places. Very easy ones to do are body cameras, for example, which Toronto recently did, not because it was financially worth it or because it was some study showed them it was important, but because the community was asking for it, and that was good enough for them to do it, and that should be good enough for Niagara to do it as well.
When people are calling for defunding the police, and that's a term that we've heard quite a bit, maybe not just here in Niagara, but throughout the United States especially, one of the things that might take precedence when you're talking about defunding the police, I think people think that it's reducing the size of the police force. But does defunding the police, does that almost make moving into body cameras not possible?
Well, it sounds contradictory, because on the one hand, we want to take services away from the police. On the other hand, we want to do things that will cost more for the police. But they're actually not contradictory, because they both bring in more civilian control over the police. So sometimes you need to spend more money to have more control over the police. Sometimes you need to take away some of the funding to reallocate the work that the police is doing, which, by the way, even the police board here has said that they're in favor of not looking at the police as the solution to social problems. They want increase in social services to do that. So it might sound contradictory, but it's actually, they're both going for the same goal. And again, one of our other requests is to have an ombudsperson hired who's purely civilian, never been a police officer, to have full access to police data. That also is going to require some spending, but that spending is going to put more control over the police.
A few years ago, the NRP purchased an armored vehicle, and that's one of the things you'd like to see disappear from the police force.
Right, it's militarization. It's actually a military vehicle that's being used by police services. The chief has said it's not an armored vehicle, but the vendor calls it Teradyne armored vehicle. It's right there in the name of the product. The chief has also said that it doesn't have any weapons on it, but actually it has gun ports. So it's designed so that you can shoot through the vehicle. So this is very dangerous for a military vehicle to be in the hands of a police force.
Saleh, have you had the chance to bring your group together at the table with the Niagara Regional Police to talk about your concerns and your demands?
There are some opportunities for that, but the police has a diversity committee, and we've been invited to take part in that. But the disappointing thing is, whenever we have met with the police indirectly in the city council in St. Catharines or in the regional council, the police has said things which don't give us any confidence that they're open to discussion. For example, if they're not willing to call an armored vehicle an armored vehicle, or if they're saying that street checks have been, first they said that the province has stopped them, but the province's webpage calls the street checks ontario.ca/street checks. This is basically racial profiling. So if they're not willing to talk about these topics honestly and with calling a spade, then it makes it very difficult to have a dialogue.
So what's the next step, Saleh, for the Niagara Region Anti-Racism Association? Do we expect to see more protests?
We are looking at how we can campaign to get the police board now to take up the reforms we've been advocating. The police board and the police chief have the power to make most of these changes. and the discussion of the city council and regional council were just to get pressure and attention to the police board. But now we can get the campaign to the police board directly. We'll have information up on our website, nrara.org, which is just being built right now. We'll have information there on how people can get involved in pressuring the police board.